Hello and welcome to Inside Music. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and as you may have noticed, this is our 50th episode. I want to thank everyone right away for listening to Inside Music up to this point, whether this is your first episode or your 50th. I am thankful for every minute that you spend enjoying these shows. I do this as a part of my job at Holics, but honestly, it's become one of my favorite things that I look forward to creating every single week, and I hope to be able to continue doing that for the foreseeable future. Whenever you're working on something that has like a numerical value to it, whether one, two, first, second, third time you do something, you always dream of reaching those big numbers. 50 is like the first level that you think of, followed by 100, 250, 500, 1,000, so on and so forth. So when I was approaching the 50th episode of this podcast, I didn't really know what to do. I thought about how things I loved had celebrated milestones. The Simpsons, for example, used to do clip shows. One year they even did a clip show made up of footage that was never actually in any episode of the show. And I always thought those are kind of cute and fun. They let you pay homage to everything you've done so far while still looking to the future a bit. But the amount of time it would take to dig through literally 2 days worth of podcasts that have been recorded and produced up to this point was just too daunting to take on, especially because I wanted to get it out ahead of Christmas because we have other shows to get to. We're already into episode 53, 54, or maybe even 55 as far as planning goes. So, I just wanted to get this out and keep going. So after I did that, I decided to do something a little bit more personal, but still promotional. My guest this week is Matthew Baird of Spoken. Now, Spoken is a band that has been together for almost 20 years at this point. Well, some version of the band has been existing for for 20 years. Matthew is the only constant member, and many others have come and gone along the way, but the band has never not been considered active. I met Matthew during my very first job in music. I used to run a small venue in my hometown of Constantine, Michigan, and one of the first national touring acts I was able to book was Spoken. They had only been together for a couple of years at that point, and they were on a label that would later go defunct. And it was a time when both Matt and I were really just getting our feet wet in the music industry. We saw each other about a half dozen times over a 2-year period, and then I went off to college, and Spoken continued to tour the world, and that venue closed down, and Matt and I would only see each other whenever the band would come around to the area. As things happen in the music industry, we ended up seeing each other less and less over the years, but whenever we crossed paths, we were always able to talk about the early days and how things have changed since then for both of us. So that's kind of what happens in this episode. Matthew and I talk about his band's new album, Breathe Again, which comes out this Friday through Artery Recordings. We talk about the band signing with Artery earlier this year, and then we talk about everything that led up to that point and where the band hopes to go afterwards. It's a real heart-to-heart conversation with somebody that I've known for a long time but never had a good chance to sit down and speak with, at least as an adult all these years later, about all that we've gone through. So this is actually something that was very special to me, and I hope it's special to you. Before we get to the episode, there are a few things I want to point out. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Inside Music POD. We're going to start doing a lot more content through our social media channels for the podcast, so it'd be a good idea to jump on that ball right now. So that's at Inside Music POD. You can also find all of our episodes, as well as tons of advice columns and guest blogs about working in the music industry, both as a writer and as a musician, on the Holics blog. That's www.holicsdaily.com. That's HAULIX daily.com. I'd appreciate if all of you go there, share our content, comment on it, whatever. I write a lot of it, but there's also a lot of guest pieces, like I said, from industry professionals, friends of mine, bands with new albums coming out, lots of content. Third, I want to tell you to keep sticking around because I know some podcasts go off the air around the holidays, but Inside Music is going to charge on right into the new year. We have 3 episodes planned before 2015 ends beyond this, and the guests are pretty great. We have Davey Muse from Vanna is on the show next week. We have Jack Appleby making an appearance to talk about best of lists. We have a conversation with MC Lars, and I think we're going to have a conversation with Rome, the new band on Hopeless Records, whose debut album comes out in January. You may have heard Brandon Pagano talking about Rome on his episode not a couple weeks back, and they're great. I just had a chance to listen to the album this week, and they're phenomenal. I can't wait to get them on the show and pick their brains. Into the new year, we also have a bunch of guests on the horizon that I can't really talk about yet, but if you were a fan of an album called Elva in the early 2000s, then I think you'll be pleased with one of our big January guests. And beyond that point, I'll just leave it to the future. Well, there's a lot to go through, and this episode's pretty long, so I'm just going to get to this. The sponsor on this week's episode is Holix, the industry's #1 digital distribution platform. Whether you're looking to get your music in front of the press or you want a little help fighting piracy, Holix is the place to go. Record labels like Metal Blade, Hopeless, Fearless, Victory, and Doghouse have used Holix to keep their music safe ahead of release. When leaks happen, those labels turn to Holix to help find the people responsible and take the necessary actions. For a free trial of Holix and more information on how we do what we do, visit www.holix.com. That's www.haulix. Now I'm going to play a little bit of music from Spoken's new album, once again called Breathe Again. It's due out this Friday, December 11th, and then we're going to get to the show. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you stick around for the next 50.
A million pieces inside. Your heart wants to surrender. Your mind is asking why. Are you hopeless? Do you believe you're too far gone? You fight off the surrender. It's all you carry on. I know inside you're falling apart. I know exactly where you are. I see the hope, the light in your eyes. You've come too far to feel this way, so leave the
It's going good. I'm home, so it's juggling everything to do with having, two kids, being involved at church, being in a band, and all this other stuff. So it's been kind of crazy.
I can imagine. I doubt Tom told you my last name when he said that we were doing this interview, so you probably don't recognize me, but we've met many times before.
Okay, what is the last name?
Shotwell.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, no, I know what I'm talking to. I'm just trying to picture your face.
All right. Yeah, we'll set the scene for people that are listening at home to this later on down the road, but when I was just getting started in music, like 12 years ago, and I worked at a tiny venue called The Apocalypse in Constantine, Michigan, you guys would come through and play all the time. My parents, who will be out here tomorrow for Thanksgiving in Boston, where I live now, they still have a wallet that you drew Spoken on that they bought from you guys like in 2001 that we still have.
I can picture you right now.
We haven't seen each other in a while. It's probably been like 5 or 6 years, but we used to see each other like every 3 months.
It's crazy. I think of The Apocalypse all the time. Anytime I drive through on 80, I think of the place.
Yeah.
I think of every time I think about how hard it is to find places to play in Michigan. I'm like, man, too bad The Apocalypse isn't there. Crazy.
Yeah.
I see the logo in my head all the time.
I know, it's weird to think about. It feels so long ago, and that's why I was so excited when Tom told me he was working with you guys now, because I was like, I don't get to talk to a lot of people that are still going that were doing stuff then. Like, I feel like the ranks have diminished so much since then that it's hard to find people that even remember that music scene existing, let alone still work in music.
It's so true. It's crazy. People come and go, and the thing is, like, it's kind of taken into a different context when it comes to bands like Spoken, who have, been a band for, February will be 20 years. And so you look at that and you think of bands that come and go. A lot of times they come and go within 5 years. So it's like, oh, this, it's crazy that it was awesome that band got to play music for 5 years, going to miss them, whatever. Maybe they'll do a reunion tour someday. Mm-hmm. But it's crazy to think that a lot of bands do 2 different reunion tours over the course of 15 years by the time that we're still playing music. It's nuts.
Yeah, no, it is crazy, and it's strange now because I'll do interviews with people who have taken the break, who maybe were like back in the Apocalypse days were in a band and then they took some years off, and now, like you said, they do the reunion tour, and we'll talk and they'll be like, "Man, those were the good old days," and I'll be like, "Yeah, but then everyone just went away."
Yeah, people kind of disappeared. It's crazy. It's nuts, but it is weird to see a lot of the peers that. We were in bands, we toured together, whatever, and now to to see them and the types of jobs that they took on after, they were done touring. I ran into someone, it was about a year ago. I was in New Mexico, and this guy, I think I got a Facebook message from him or whatever, and he used to play bass for the band Pocket Change from Virginia. He was like, hey, actually I was thinking about swinging by the venue. I can't come to the show. I have to work or whatever. But anyway, the dude, he tests lasers on missiles and stuff. He helps with the design of all the inner workings of missiles and stuff. I'm like, what in the world? Anyway, he came by. He was able to stay for like a couple songs, and he had to go. But it was crazy. It's just like such one, it's a small world, but another is like how creative people are and how smart people are, and how once they realize, wow, being in a band is really hard, I'm going to do something else. So,
yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, no, it's strange. It's strange because there are people who seem to make it their entire lives and have really like stick to it. And then there are these people who, they do like the 5 or 6 years and they get out and they go and they have a whole nother career and life and story and adventure.
Yep.
It's so strange. Do you ever think what would Matt be doing if Spoken hadn't continued this long? What would you be doing today?
I know I'd be doing music in some way. But, to be honest, I think until a person is thrown into a situation of where what they're so used to doing and what they feel like has been, effective and where they feel like God put them, I think it's something that, unless I was thrown into the situation and Spoken ended 15 years ago, I don't know that I could honestly answer the question, because I've given my life to this calling. But through that, I've started doing more and more acoustic stuff. I recorded a worship record. This year I've been really, really involved at my church with helping out with the teens and kids in recovery and all this stuff. So it's like, it's weird because I think I can see myself, being involved in a lot of different aspects, but I think music would always be the root. And no matter what, even if I left the road and never played a show again, I still have 20 years worth of stories and wisdom that I gained, over that course of time. So I think it's something that sticks with you for the rest of your life. The same way these people who maybe now have different jobs or whatever, but if they toured for 5 years, I guarantee it was the most influential 5 years of their life because they were put into every type of situation, every awkward situation, every annoying situation, every situation that could bring you to anger with human beings, and just also just like, what are we doing? I'm so confused on what's happening. We did everything right by the standard of what people told us we should do and how to get to that point. But why is this not working the way that we think it should? And in the end, it's like, man, things happen and we're not supposed to be in control of stuff. So you do the best you can, you plan the best you can, but realize that in the end, probably none of it's going to matter, as far as your planning. But what do you do in those situations when it doesn't work out the way you hoped or the way you assumed it would do?
No, you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I do, you mentioned this, and I wanted to get to it later, but let's just knock it out of the park now. So you did record a worship album earlier this year that you crowdfunded and stuff. Is that coming out before the end of the year?
The Spoken record comes out December 11th, and the worship record comes out December 18th. And when I say that, we can plan things all day long and how we think things probably should work. The worship record's a perfect example of all of my planning didn't matter, and luckily in the end, where it's at now is a much better situation than it would have been if I'd released it in April like I had planned. But at the same time, it's kind of frustrating when you spend time, especially with launching a crowdfunding campaign. Like, one, you never want to confuse Spoken fans, by like, oh, I'm doing a worship record. Oh, Matt's not going out on his own. Oh, he's going solo. Oh, Spoken broke up, because people are so easily confused anyway, especially if they haven't followed, any of my personal Facebook stuff over the past couple of years, and they realize that I do acoustic tours between every Spoken tour. So it's not a surprise that I would do, my own thing,
right,
my own record. But because you can't keep up with every single human being and inform them, about every move you're making, people get confused. But I recorded the record in January. I planned on it coming out in April. we had planned on recording the spoken record in May and it coming out in August. But both of those things have been turned upside down. And luckily, in the end, it's for the better. And whether or not any of the spoken fans realize how much better it is for us, I don't know. But hopefully, in the end, they're like, it was so worth the wait. I'm so glad it worked out. I understand now. But I can't expect people who are not in the music industry and understand the inner workings and how things kind of have to happen with release dates and what dates are available, and then bringing management into the picture, radio, the label, booking. I can't expect them to understand all the inner workings. So that's why it's been kind of hard, because you're asking everyone to be patient, but all they care about is getting their record that they paid for. I understand that, but at the same time, it's like, if we want to be able to make the biggest impact we can, and from a providing for your family standpoint, and make it to where maybe somehow, some way we could provide for our families a little easier and not have to be gone all the time, man, everyone's like, hopefully they'd be happy about that. But instead, I understand they want their record. I understand that, but it's just kind of where we're at, and luckily, once December rolls around, it'll all make sense to everyone.
I think so. I mean, I haven't heard the worst album. I have heard "Breathe Again" a few times. I think it's worth the wait.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. So we'll hopefully everyone with the worship record and the spoken record be like, okay, cool, I got it now.
Get it now, yeah.
All about it, cool, And so I get it. It's things are frustrating, and what I tell everyone is like, no one wants this record out more than we do. Nobody. And so by the time it comes out, we would have been sitting on it for 8 months, so it's like, of course we want it out.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Artery thing. I gotta not scatterbrain myself all over this. So I'll try to follow it in order. So let's start with Artery. So how did this Artery deal come about? I have an idea in my head of how it came about, but I want to hear the actual version. I love how many times, I feel like 3 or 4 times in my life I've seen spoken pitched to me as this new band, and I'm always like, oh, these guys are back. They're still going. I'm always like,
Yeah, what's weird is how if somehow we fall off someone's radar for a while, and maybe they just start listening to different types of music, or maybe they took a break from Facebook and we don't show up in their feed anymore, or maybe they're just like, yeah, I don't like that record, whatever, and they're like, oh, wait, you guys got back together? I'm like, no, we never didn't stay together. We've been together. There's some different members, and there's always different chapters, I think, in life. So that should, relate to a band as well. But, I had known people with Artery for a long time, and, Scoop, our guitar player, actually did an internship type thing years ago with Mike Milford. And so he had known him forever. And so when Scoop came to the picture, at this point, it's almost a year and a half ago, I called him up and I'm like, dude, let's write a record, let's get going. Because I had a couple guys leave the band. And so it was just me. For a few months, it was literally just me. And so I'm like, I want to do this with new guys who are fully invested. Let's go. Let's do it. Because I had that up until that point. And then when those guys left, I'm like, it's literally just me right now. I don't like this feeling. And so, luckily there's been amazing band members that have been and spoken, throughout. And so it's really cool when I called Scoop. I'm like, hey, let's do this. I want you to be 100% in this. He's like, okay, well, cool. Let's do this. He shared his ideas. I'm like, I'm on board. Let's go. So then we added Isaiah, our drummer, about a month after that. And Scoop was out. He was out with Memphis Mayfire on their spring tour, and they played South by So What in Fort Worth area. And Mike Milford from Artery is like, hey, I want to put out the spoken record. And at that point, we had just planned on coming in to record it in May and kind of put it out on our own and go with it. He's like, I want to have a conversation with you about it. And so Scoop's like, okay. Anyway, he did. They had a conversation. He's like, I want to put this record out. Blah, 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 all this stuff. And so okay, well, I'll talk to Matt and we'll kind of go from there. We got to hit the studio. At that point, it's when it got bumped to April. So we had to be in the studio a month earlier. Mm-hmm. And so we just kind of started talking about it and praying about it and what are we doing? Is this what we want to do? At the same time, we're bringing on new management And so like, okay, new management in the picture, they need to be involved in this if that's what's going to happen. So we kind of had to pull the trigger on the Artery thing and the new management thing, like kind of around the same time, because we had to go into the studio even a month earlier than planned. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, holy cow, this is a lot of stuff. And so that's literally how the Artery thing happened. And, you know, once we got the record done, we sent it to them, and we were already in the process of, let's do this, you know. And so luckily they got the record and liked it, so that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a plus.
yeah, it's always kind of a bad thing. It's like, oh, well, could you go back and maybe track everything again, you know?
Yeah.
It's worked out really cool. It was a good transition.
So before Artery came involved, what was the plan? Were you just going to record another album and hope someone came along and wanted to do it? Were you going to self-release, or was like Tooth and Nail maybe still interested? What was going to happen?
You know, the plan really was, it was like, let's write the best record we possibly can. Let's, you know, launch a Kickstarter campaign. Let's see if, you know, the fans will help us get this taken care of. And that's nerve-wracking no matter what. I don't care who you are or how much you're asking for. Anytime you're like, let's launch this campaign and let's hopefully we can make X amount of dollars so that we can record this, because we're all broke. We don't have the money to front this kind of money on our own. And at the same time, we were going with a different producer. And when a different producer is like, hey, you know, here's what I would charge you to do it. And like, okay, so here's what we know we have to have. The whole thing is like, if we got enough to pay for, you know, the production of the record and then manufacturing and shipping, cool, we got it. And so that was the whole thing. And luckily with the Kickstarter campaign, we broke that and we were set and ready to go. And even if a deal didn't work out, you know, with the Artery situation, we would be able to put it out on our own. You know, that was the plan. Like, let's just get this record out. You know, and then bringing a label into the picture, management, new booking, new radio people, new business manager, plus you got new band members. All this stuff kind of pushes things around a bit, and then waiting for, you know, available release dates. And sometimes that's later than you had hoped or sooner. You're like, so there's been a lot of, you know, hands in the fire of like, let's get this done. And the only thing that I said that was like, okay, I got a little maybe agitated a bit. I'm like, this record has to come out this year. I don't care what it takes to make it happen. It has to come out this year. You know, but that has already been with, you know, months of frustration with my worship record as well. So I'm like, as long as this record gets out this year so that our fans don't pull a mutiny on the bounty, you know, cool. Anyway, that luckily worked out, and right at the last moment, December 11th and 18th. So we're like, okay. So once the record comes out and we hit the new year, it'll be a big sigh of relief of just like a whole year of like trying to be patient and trying to learn from the whole situation and do things differently than we've done in the past, learn from all the mistakes that we made in the past, or maybe things that weren't as productive as, you know, we had hoped. But yet at the same time, like, not getting our hopes up in some kind of situation where we're going to be let down if it doesn't work out. Because I dwell in the music business, and things do not work out the way the way you imagine. And if people think that it's going to, they really need to find a different type of career.
This is very true. You have the career to confirm this. I know some of the stories, but you definitely. I really feel like at some point you just got to write a book. You really should.
You know, I've heard that so much, especially in the past couple of years. But I tell people, like, it wouldn't fit in the book. I'm sorry, it wouldn't. And you know, honestly, I don't have the mental capacity, or it's just a lot of the things that you live through, you don't want to relive and put down in a book. But yet, I understand that's what helps people with healing in so many ways, or it's an informative type book. But literally, a lot of them are kind of like bad dreams that I don't want to have again. You know, so like, I don't think so.
I like that. No, I like that.
It would have to be something. If someone's like, you should write a book, I'm like, all right, you pay me to not have to be on the road nonstop, and you fly me to where you're at. I'll have a 10-day conversation with you. You can write a book. Cool. You can put my name on it.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard to be like, I'm going to start writing down every thought I've ever had about being on the road and this journey, because it's over 20 years, and it's like, I truly wouldn't know where to start.
Well, there's something that I've ended up coming back to this subject a lot over the last couple of episodes. We've been doing a lot of different interviews with people who have been telling me, a lot of people who are like influenced by music that in the '90s. And what I keep coming back to with people is like, what happened to like when Stoken first came on the scene, there was still an alternative Christian market. Like that was a thing that existed. Does that still
Yep.
exist as an artist that still carries the Christian banner in their genre? Whenever someone talks about Spoken, it's a Christian rock band or whatever. But is Christian alternative music still a scene? Because I feel like it just disappeared in the mid aughts, and now it's just music.
I couldn't answer that really. I mean, obviously, like you have it as you have some promoters who are trying to do a certain type of show, certain type of outreach, and so they book certain bands to do that. Obviously there's bars that book certain types of bands because they're like, hey, here's what's going on. We know that we can, make money on drink sales. Here's what's going on. They have to all somehow work out to where they can exist as music venues still by paying bills that have to be paid. At the same time, I think there are a lot of these, these talent buyers at these general market clubs. They see the value in these bands that are Christian bands because they know they're going to sell tickets. But a lot of time, I think also they're like, yeah, I don't know. That's not the type of band we would normally book. I don't want them in here talking about God on stage just to sell tickets. So it's kind of cool because a lot of these people who have no relationship with Jesus, they still have it as something. There's a bit of, I think they would feel a little bit guilty in a way because they're like, I don't want, I don't want our clientele hearing about Jesus nonstop while they're drinking. Another, I kind of feel bad about knowing that it would only be for the money we can make off that show. It's weird. I'm not saying there's many of those people, but I think there are some.
No, definitely.
But with the question of like, is there still a, alternative market for Christian rock and roll? I don't know. I think there are Christian kids who like all kinds of music. I think there are Christian kids who only listen to Christian music. I think there are non-Christians who are like, there's no way I'm ever listening to Christian music. Like, oh, have you not heard August Burns Red, or have you not heard, Under Oath? Well, they're like, yeah, I've heard those bands. I'm like, all those bands started Christian music, and a lot of them, they're still Christians. I can't speak on behalf of every band, but I would hope that it would be something that these people, it is more than just their music, it's their whole lifestyle. So even if they didn't say something from stage, I would hope people like, dude, those guys were so awesome. I love being around them. There's just something different about them. I love it. I did an interview earlier this morning, and they're like, would you still consider yourself a Christian band? I'm like, yeah, I talk about Jesus every night from stage. That's kind of crazy to be like, yeah, we're not a Christian band, but yet I'm up there talking about Jesus. Like,
yeah.
It just kind of doesn't make sense, but at the same time, if I'm in a conversation with someone and I'm not talking about music at all, I'm going to somehow, hopefully, God allows me to tie Jesus into it. Like I just hope it's all about opportunities and what are you doing with those opportunities. And so anyone who Jesus is their first priority in life and it's what they live for, I think people should know by their life. And often I think it just kind of gets lost in the shuffle because there are bands who do questionable things on the road they should never do. And I think that they shouldn't do it on behalf of being like, yeah, we're in the Christian market. Like, you should just be a better person. Sorry, that's just it. Because these kids, whether you want to be or not, you're being watched at all times by Christian kids, non-Christian kids, and, the world. And so it's like, we need to be an example. And I think we definitely need to be better examples, especially if we're going to carry the name Christian band,
Yeah, definitely. I was doing an interview with the guys in As Cities Burn not too long ago, and we were kind of talking about how when they were coming up, they were all into bands like Goaty Hook and Ace Troubleshooter, and they were like, you could be a punk kid who just liked Christian music, and there were 40 bands that you would listen to.
Yep.
And you guys used to tour as part of kind of that circuit of bands.
And
weird.
Weird.
Yeah, in the Metro One days of Spoken way back in the day. And then I sometimes I wonder today, maybe it's because I'm disconnected. I'm like, are kids that are 15 and 16, are there 40 notable Christian punk rock bands out there that are like making it? And I don't know that there is. I don't know that there isn't. But it's interesting to me how that used to be something that got like press coverage, that like there was a big Christian band had a good sales week, like that was a thing. And it's been a long time since you've really seen like a Christian music market kind of set aside as its own thing. And
it's true.
It's weird. It's weird how that changed.
Yeah, it's weird and it's unfortunate, you know. I mean, because it was something, especially when the Christian market was thriving with music. I mean, you could go to any show, Squad 50, Goaty Hook, Dear
Yep.
Ephesus, any of those bands. There's 250 kids there losing their mind, singing every word, and those bands are hanging out and talking from the moment they pull up in their van until the end of the night. It's like, hey, you know what? We're going to Denny's, and then they go to Denny's and spend another 2 or 3 hours with all these kids. That does not happen anymore, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's weird.
It is weird. It's weird because I feel like it's something, it's like it's gone already. I don't know how it happened. Maybe we'll find out one day, man.
I think there's a certain fire that used to exist when it came to the Christian market. I don't know if that fire exists anymore, and I don't know why. I mean, I miss it. I really do, but I've seen it come and go, and there are times you get just this little glimmer of like, I remember when War of Ages came out, and I was like, heard All Consuming Fire. I'm like, heck yeah, a revitalization of Strong Arm and Unashamed and Focused. I'm like, it's back. The spirit-filled Christian hardcore is back, you know, and I feel the same way about with Gideon. Like, I think that band is great, you know, and I know everyone loves Sleeping Giant, and you know, there's all these bands where, I mean, I hadn't heard Gideon until recently, but I checked it out on YouTube, and I loved it. That was awesome. So I have hope for, at least with the, you know, the hardcore type of music and the hardcore metal. So
I think it starts there. I mean, that's because those bands are so just big and outspoken, and they get kids to be really really outspoken themselves, and like kind of, you know, this is who I am. And I think that lends itself to them starting new bands of their own, feeling, you know, they have that confidence.
Yep, for sure. And you know, the crazy thing is like when you spend time, like I used to spend most of my time at shows talking to young bands about, they're like, hey, you've been around forever, what should we do, what should we not do, you know, whatever. And I remember talking to them for, you know, sometimes hours about, you know, the pros and cons of certain things, and be sure you do this, don't do this, or whatever. And you know what's crazy is that over the past, I mean, literally over the past year and a half, I've only had a handful of those conversations because kids, they go, I think they quickly realize how much work it is to be a band. They quickly realize how much money it costs to get in a situation where they can go on the road or they can tour or whatever. So it's a really difficult thing.
Yeah, no, I have that same feeling. I've noticed that as well in my own, because a lot of what we do through my job is like music education. I've noticed that there is a drop off, and people that want to really know, there's always going to be people that are like, what's it like to be in a band? But like, you know, putting the money where their mouth is, it seems there has been a decline, I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. You know, often people are like, oh man, anybody can record a record now with technology. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, they can record a record and they can actually make it sound good. If they're recording a record, making it sound good on their own, that's fine. That's awesome. But then they're going on the road, and if they're not communicating with the fans, it doesn't matter. It truly doesn't. And a lot of these bands they might be big bands now. They may be doing really well, selling a lot of tickets, moving a lot of merch, and they might write great songs. But if they are not building and nurturing a relationship with their fans, they'll be gone in 5 years and forgotten. Mm-hmm. That's it. They'll be remembered as, oh man, they had a great record.
Yeah.
Cool. Who cares? You know?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, do something that is do something that affects someone's eternity, not their like musical choice.
I like that. Well, we should probably talk about the record for a minute or two, I suppose.
That's fine.
I like it a lot, man. I think it's a great record. I think, you know, the last couple of Spoken albums have been really big on, I think, like an anthemic rock sound, and I like the mix of this record more. I feel like there's a lot more variety in the types of songs there are. There's some driving ones, some anthemic ones, some soft ones. It's a nice mix. It's a nice balance.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we did go into it with a different, mindset, and it's not only because of different band members, because that brings a different type of writing as well when it comes to writing stuff. But it was something, and this was really hard for me, to be honest, to go into it. It was like, hey, let's do a record that doesn't have screaming on every song. Let's do a record that's not as aggressive vocally, because it really is one of those things. One, been there, done that, you know, and any kind of vocal acrobatics that ever needed to be done was on the Illusion record. I mean, because it was totally different vocally than any of our other records.
Yeah.
And so with this one, to go into it in the writing standpoint of like hitting a pretty heavy bridge and not just screaming my way through it was really hard, because I had to write, you know, I had to write melody for every part, you know, and so it wasn't something that was like, oh, cool, we'll have melody on the chorus, but I'll just scream the verses in the bridge and it'll be cool, whatever. This was something where, as far as the aggressiveness of this record, it's in the drums and guitar, which is in a different way than anything in our past, which also is awesome. There's guitar solos all over the record, which I'm very excited about, and like I can't wait for people to hear it. But also drum-wise, it's different. I think a drummer's going to hear it and be like, dude, I love the drumming. I think a guitar player's going to be like, wait, how does he play that riff? You know, and I think vocally, there's some high singing. There's whatever, but I don't think it's something where it's like someone who's only a screamer. They're not going to listen to that record and be like, yeah, I love that record. They're screaming all over it, because there's not. It's where it's like you choose your moments, and that's what this record is about.
Well, I mean, I think that comes through pretty clear. The singles have been so good that the accessibility of them are huge. My favorite songs, though, I think I have two songs that I keep coming back to. Your Memories Are Alive Again, which I would love to know the story about, and then Poison in the Air. Those two tracks I come back to again and again.
Right.
I dig them. So what's the story with Your Memories Are Alive Again? I love it.
Well, you know, to think of it, like I haven't listened to that song in a long time. You know, there was a movie that I watched while we were in the studio, and it was just something about the impact that someone had on someone's life, a group of people, and then that person was gone. You know, like they were just gone. And the cool thing was, it was a story of Jesus. Like, it was just like Jesus being on earth and making his presence known, and the people that he became friends with, you know, like, and then he was gone. And so later on down the road, like, just sitting there and thinking back of the times they had, thinking back of those moments, whether it be funny times or hard times where they walked through something together. And like that whole thing is like, your memories are alive again. Like it just makes me feel like you're here and in this room. And that's really what that song is about.
I like it. I love it. The other song that really sticks out to me is Walking in My Dreams. I think that's just, it's a great chorus. It's a powerful, like, for an opening song, that one really summarizes, especially at least the first half of the record for me. Like, that song sets a good tone for the whole album.
Yeah, that was one of those where it was just straight up, it was a reoccurring dream I was having about my father, who passed away at this point going on 9 years ago. Anyway, I had this dream several times, and it was unsettling. I didn't enjoy it, but I would see him, and it was just kind of like he's kind of waiting to tell me something, but yet not. He never would. And so I was like, what is going on? I don't understand what he's trying to tell me. And, you know, there were moments where I was like, I wasn't even sure if it was him, because I'd had that dream so many times. And so I was like, I just got to get this out somehow, some way. And that's when, that's when I just jotted the lyrics down. And then once I got the music to it, it kind of fit in perfect. And the awesome thing is since I recorded that song, I have not had that dream.
Weird.
So maybe that's exactly what it needed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that truth. Tell me one other one I'm kind of curious about. What's the story with "Take My Breath Away" into the outro? It's a different song, like, feeling wise, to a lot of the other tracks on the record. So I'm kind of like, I like it, but it just feels like it comes from a little bit of a different place.
Yes, it's a love song for my wife.
I like it.
Straight up. And it was one of those that we'd had that music for a little while. I actually used that music on in the background of my Kickstarter video for my worship record. Like, it was something that Scoop put together, and he was like, "Hey, you could use this." I'm like, "Dude, I'd love to use that." So I'd loved it for a while, and then when we're like, "Hey, let's think about a more kind of a ballady, anthematic track," that was the one we went to, and it was like just started writing to it. but yeah, it's one of the songs like, hey, this is what I'm feeling right now, and so that's what happened. And on the last record, my wife had asked me to kind of quit writing so many songs about her because there's other guys in the band. They don't want to hear songs about me all the time. Like, what? So I went to her. I talked to her that night on the phone. I had sent her a song while we were recording the Illusion record, and it was about her, right? And I showed it to her. She's like, I really like the song. I think it's really good, but I think maybe you've written too many songs about me. I'm like, wait, what? I just spent time writing and recording scratch vocals, and she's like, I just see it. I know how you feel about me. I mean, there's no one that can deny how you feel. But I mean, you have other guys in the band that maybe they don't want to hear songs about me all the time. I'm like, come on, what? She's like, just ask them. Just ask them. I'm like, okay. And so I did. I went in and I showed them. I was like, you guys listen to that? And they're like, yeah, dude, yeah. I'm like, you guys think I write too many songs about my wife? And they're like, so that was my answer immediately. And they're like, well, you write about her a lot, but I mean, that's just, she means a lot. I'm like, do I write too many? And one of the guys was kind of like, well, maybe, whatever. I scratched it, completely deleted all the vocals, and I completely rewrote the whole song, new lyrics, new melodies, new everything. And, put a different version on the record. So I figured there needed to be one on this record that was straight up about her.
I like that. That's funny that she just asked you to stop writing as many songs about her. Too many songs, enough songs about Jesus. Too many about the wife.
yeah. Well, yeah. It was one of those things where I get it. I understand what she's saying, but yeah, I thought it was like, man, this song's kind of cool. I like this, and plus this is how I feel right now, And it's so bad that I deleted those lyrics from my phone. I threw that piece of paper away that had them jotted down. So maybe they'll come back someday.
I mean, if it's meant to work out, it probably will. Well, I appreciate you taking time to talk to me today. I'm curious. So I know Spoken has you got the string of Texas gigs coming up around for release week, right? Late in December. So what is that the end of touring for you in the year?
As far as Spoken goes, yeah, we're meeting up a couple of days before the tour, actually rehearse, and we're playing several new songs on those dates for 10 years. And then as far as the band, everyone will go home to be with family, during that time frame. I've got an acoustic tour out to the East Coast and back in December. I get home from tour on December 8th and plan on leaving on December 9th with my wife and kids to do an acoustic run out and back. We'll go out. I've got a couple shows I got one in Ohio, a couple shows in Pennsylvania, down into North Carolina. I'm trying to figure out something closer to New York City currently, and then maybe another Virginia show, and then head back to be home for Christmas. So that's what's going on the rest of the year on both parts. And then we're kind of waiting to hear what's going on in January. But February, March, and then April, we're going out with Disciple, Seventh Day Slumber, Decipher Down, and Children of T3 on the City Rock Fest tour. So we'll be out in the spring with them, which I think will be awesome. It'll be a great time.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of waiting to see what all's going on. We're doing as far as I know, a pretty big, just a active rock festival in Wisconsin in July. I'm just trying to sort it out, figure it out, and just be ready to be gone all year.
I like that. The guys in Disciple are really nice. I've hung out with them a few times. Great dudes.
Yeah, they're great, man. They're great. Great lineup, great dudes.
Yeah.
Like, they've been through equal amount of changes over the years.
They really have.
It's like it's just something that's like whatever gets thrown at you, you kind of dodge what you can, you take whatever blows you can, and you pick yourself up and kind of keep. That was almost like a fight term. I don't know what I just said. But yeah, it's like you pick up the pieces and keep moving forward as long as you're supposed to,
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to do.
Well, I applaud you for it, man. The new album's great. People that are listening, breathe again. It's out December 11th through Artery. You can pre-order it right now. What is the Spoken website?
SpokenMusic.com is the
All
actual website. Facebook.com/Spoken has, information on it as well. Spoken Official is like Twitter and Instagram. So.
Where did they go to find Matt Baird, your solo stuff, to learn about the Worship album?
I've got just my artist page, like just Matt Baird artist page, and there's always links from my personal Facebook page to that. There's a website kind of in the mix of trying to get it started up or whatever. But I signed with Pando Records. It's a sub-label Warner that's going to be putting out the worship records. So
cool.
That's probably another thing. Pando is what it's called. Pando Records.
Awesome.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm very thankful to be able to play music at all still, but to be able to do spoken as a hard rock full-time situation and be able to do worship stuff on the side. I'm lucky, man. I really am. I'm very fortunate to be able to do it. Very fortunate that my wife is so supportive, and that on the acoustic stuff I get to bring my kids with me, so they get to see why I'm gone all the time. They get to see, they get to meet people that I've talked about off and on for years upon years, and then people get to meet my wife and my kids, who so far they've seen my kids kind of grow up on Instagram and Facebook, but then they actually get to be like, oh, hey, what's up? And so
that's awesome.
But my kids act like they know. They act like they know everyone when they meet them. So it's kind of one of those things like, oh, hey, is there anything to play with here? It's like, it's a time for sure.
Well, I'm excited for you, man. And I hope that we get to keep having these conversations for many years to come. If we keep just crossing paths every 4 or 5 years and keep each other in check, I think that's good.
Crazy. I love it. And I honestly do. I think of the apocalypse all the time.
It was a fun time. Well,
I just think there are things like, often people that I meet, whether it's a good meeting or a bad meeting, I normally write a song about them. You know what I mean? Or the same way as like you meet these people who inspire you in your life or in your mission or whatever it is. Same thing. It's like when you go to a music venue like the Apocalypse, and that's your home away from home that day. You show up, you meet super nice people, you hang out, you go through the whole every day of setting up, playing a show, tearing down, hanging out. But like to be able to sit, and I'm picturing the room where, like in the later days of where we would sit in there, I think there was white tabletops, plastic tables, and we'd sit in there and have dinner and just chat,
Yep.
I think of those places all the time. So it definitely, to have a place like that, to know that when you get there, you're going to be taken care of and at least treated like human beings, is a great thing. And so you guys were able to do that. And you impacted, our lives and many other bands as well. So it was awesome.
Appreciate it, man. You've always left a big impact on me. I'm excited to see what you guys do next. It's always cool to see where you go next. And I'm excited to hear this worship album. My dad actually supported it. You guys had a conversation earlier this year. I know you called some of your backers.
Awesome.
So when I see him tomorrow, he'll want to hear the new album. So I'll probably play it for him so he can hear Breathe again. But yeah, man, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. It seems like you're going to be with your family, so that's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, when you talk to your dad, he should have a link in his Kickstarter email that has 5 of the worship songs. So
awesome.
Ask him about that. And if not, call me tomorrow and I'll forward it to you straight up.
All right. Sounds good, man. Well, I wish you all the luck, and I'll make sure to we'll get this out before the album drops and stuff, but hopefully we cross paths next year.
Perfect. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, man. Have a good day.
Bye.